morning, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, traders? What's going on? Welcome back and happy Money Thursday. Yeah, baby, it is Money Thursday, July 27, 2023, 8:49 in the morning. And ladies and gentlemen, we got a big day ahead of us, don't we? Look at pre-market, guys. Everything is gapping up. Everything is moving. Things are looking fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, we got some great opportunity again in the market today. I mean, look at the SPY. Right now, we're gapping up 4 points this morning here on the SPY. Take a look at the Qs. Yesterday, we closed at 377. We're up at 382. We're up about 5 points right now at this point in time. Meta is up almost 10% here off earnings. Tesla gapping up 5 points. I mean, guys, there's a lot of great opportunity. Things are gapping up. There's great setups here as well. I'm super excited to see what today has in store for us. So let's go ahead and dive right into it, guys. Let's not waste any time. We have a lot to talk about. We got to dissect the SPY, dissect Meta, Tesla, Spotify, talk about my watch list for small caps, LPCN, XPEV, MNK, and then still having an opportunity to review your stocks for the day to make sure that you guys are all set, ready to rock and roll, and make sure that you guys are prepared. So let's dive right into it, guys. This is the pre-market rundown where you guys come prepared with your top stocks for the day. Give me the opportunity to review those. Make sure you're prepared, dialed in, and ready to attack. All right, so again, good morning, everybody. Steve, what's up, brother man? Who's inside the chat this morning? Who do we got up in the house? Trader Adam, Steve, Mr. Steve again, Stir. Where's everybody at? Come on, baby. Hit me with a big ol' alpha trading. Good morning. Right now, right here. Let's get it. You sent me a DM. I will absolutely get to my DMs here a little bit later this afternoon. I got you, boss. Glenn, what's up? Rob, Catherine, Johnny J. Das. Woo! My goodness, you guys are all set. Everybody's here. If you guys are over on YouTube, hit me with a good morning as well. Vito, what's up? Good morning. All right, we're going to dive right into it, guys. We got a lot to talk about. AJ, Dave, Corey, Matt, Johnny, Nick, William. What's going on, traders? Corey, what's up, boss? Good morning, guys. All right, let's go ahead and dive right into it. Pre-market rundown. What is your top stock of the day? What's your top stock? All right, let's review it. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the SPY. SPY's on high watch today, right? This is my watch list. These are stocks that we will review. Meta, we're going to discuss Meta. We got Tesla on watch and Spotify as well, SPOT. Right, small caps. I do want to be watching LPCN, XPEV, MNK, which MNK is already freaking doing its thing, so it may not give us a killer trade today, but still want to watch it. And then I'm going to discuss BJDX with you guys. I want to discuss BJDX because it looks great, guys. I mean, it's got this nice daily setup. So those are going to be the stocks that we discuss. All right. Mr. Stir wants to go ahead and dive into Disney. Okay, man. Let's do it. Let's dive into Disney real quick. All right. So, Disney. The biggest thing that I see is this little teeny weeny gap fill on Disney. So, it's like if Disney were ever break like 86.31, like you got a gap at like 86.55. So, it's like what? 20 cents to the upside to fill this gap. If we were to ever able like pop on up and maybe fill the gap. I mean, everything is gapping up. I wouldn't be surprised. Is Disney gapping up as well? Yeah, Disney's opening higher, and actually Disney is opening inside of this daily gap level. So, I mean, I don't really trade Disney. I don't think you need full-blown dollar moves to make some solid cash. Premiums are really, really cheap on Disney. 25, 30 cents of movement on Disney, right? Those contracts do move. They're cheap. You can buy multiple. So it's not like you need like a solid, whopping full dollar move on Disney to be able to make some cash. So it's like, we are inside of this gap level, right? The lower area of this gap is 86.31, right? So like 86.31 is going to be your support level. And you have some resistance at 86.55. So, I mean, what's that? A 25-cent window between support resistance. So, right now it's just like you got to make a decision. Disney needs to make a decision. It's either going to break the upper level of resistance from this gap and then start to push, which would be fantastic. So that would be a break over 86.55. That's when we could expect to see Disney start to pop on up here a little bit, possibly up towards around like 87.17 would be like your first target. But like if Disney is not able to break the 86.55, and if we ever come through and start cracking below like 86.31 and yesterday's high a day, which was at like 86.27, that's when we could start to see Disney pull back. Like to a first target would be yesterday's close to close the gap from the gap up today, right? So, yeah, I mean, again, it really comes down to like these two levels that are creating the gap. If you break and hold 86.55, you have potential to see a push up towards around like 87.18, right? Your first level of resistance. So, I mean, there's decent potential there. That's like 75 cents to the upside. But if you can't break that 86.55 level, and we see it's really tough resistance, you have some room back down towards around 86.31. And then yesterday's high day, which is 86.27. And if you fall below those two levels, we can see it drop all the way back down into yesterday's close at 85.86 there on Disney. And again, we're just looking short term, right? We're looking like what could Disney do today? I'm not zooming out. I'm not looking at big picture downtrends. I'm not looking at big picture stuff. I'm looking at like what could it do just today as a day trade, right? And I'm like just really micro. I'm really zoomed in. What could we do today? Where are we in pre-market? And do we have some potential to see a decent move today? Absolutely, 100%. So, definitely worth keeping an eye on Disney inside of this gap level. And maybe it provides us with some opportunity for a couple scalps, right? We only need maybe 25 cents of movement to make some decent profit because those premiums are cheap and we can buy multiple contracts. And again, you get 25 cents of movement on Disney with a 30 delta, and those contracts are dirt cheap. Like we can make some serious cash. So yeah, definitely worth watching Disney inside that gap level to see what is going to happen. Tesla. Yeah, so Tesla is going to be on watch today. This is one of the stocks that I like a lot. We actually got some like higher time frame analysis on Tesla that suggests a leg down. I want everybody to pay attention to this downtrend on Tesla, right? We can clearly see we have a very clear identified downtrend on Tesla. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. We're extending this downtrend to the right. And we see here it was respected for the fourth time. It broke, chopped around a little bit, really broke on out, right? And then dumped through earnings. And then as it fell back below that downtrend and then started the bounce, it came back up to the penny and hit the downtrend again for the fifth time, right? This is point number 4. That was point number 5. And we came up and hit that downtrend to the penny and got rejected. So what I'm looking at on Tesla, like bigger picture for a possible swing trade, is if Tesla is truly stuck back below this downtrend and we can't break above it, I think Tesla has potential to drop and fill this daily gap right around 235 to 240 if we can't get back above this downtrend. And I think today's going to be the day that it makes its true decision, right? We are curling on up. We are getting very close to that downtrend. So if we see Tesla failing to break through that level and we're struggling, that's a good sign to get short. And what's going to really confirm Tesla short for me, not only, right, seeing Tesla come up and get rejected off this downtrend, but cracking the uptrend. So like the first piece of criteria that I want to see is Tesla come up and be unable, right, to break through this downtrend. That's step 1. It's like, check that box off. Okay. And then I want to see Tesla come through and eventually crack, right, this uptrend that we've been grinding all freaking day yesterday. I mean, we've been grinding that trend line like crazy. That would be great confirmation to get short on Tesla, right? Getting a confirmation rejection off this downtrend. And that's a long-term downtrend. It's a super valid trend line, right? That's criteria number 1 that I want to see met. And then criteria 2 is going to be cracking the trend line. Right. And that's just 2 pieces of criteria to get the entry, right? We have so many reasons that we could see Tesla dump, right? There's a lot of stuff setting up here on Tesla. It looks fantastic. Long story short, but the biggest thing is below that multi-month, downtrend. If we come back up into it, can't break above it, right? I want to see it drop into the trend line, this uptrend here. And if we ever crack the uptrend, that's when I want to start getting short, guys. All right. I would actually get short down to 254 on Tesla. That's going to be your nearest level of like strong support. Then down around 250, psychological support. And then if we ever fall below 250, I believe Tesla can come down and fill this daily gap. It also puts you right around the 50 SMA. All right. So I do like Tesla potentially to fill this daily gap if we really start to dump to the downside. And again, this trend line is super valid. I mean, look at how we just grinded this trend line yesterday all day, right? So it's like come up to this downtrend, get rejected, crack the uptrend, right? That'll give me a nice sweet entry with nice tight stops, right? And then we have some great potential to possibly come down and fill that gap. So I like the setup. I like the risk to reward. And again, the setup is really coming off of those higher time frames, right? We identified the setup here on the 4-hour time frame. So I like these higher time frame setups. We have the higher time frame confirmation, right? That we could see Tesla start to pull back even more. And then again, we really just drill this down into a 5-minute, and we know exactly what we need to see to get short on Tesla. So just really waiting for that downtrend to get hit, get rejected, come through, crack the uptrend at some point. Could happen today, may happen tomorrow. It really depends on how volatile Tesla is and how well it moves. But again, it's something to watch today and watch tomorrow. If it doesn't set up today, tomorrow, maybe coming into next week, it's starting to set up for us and give us a reason to get in. But Tesla's absolutely going to be on watch today, tomorrow, and then early next week until we get that opportunity to attack it if we get it, right? So I do like Tesla a lot. And so Tesla's definitely on high watch. And I'm already planning on going probably 30, 45 days out on some puts to the short side here on Tesla. The Qs. I did not look at the Qs yet, but let's go ahead and take a look at the Qs here, guys. That was one thing I have yet to look at. I mean, I dissected the crap out of the SPY because we're going to be watching the SPY today as always, but did not get around to the Qs just yet. So this gap was pretty much filled, right? Like that gap right here was pretty much filled within what? 20 cents. Yeah, you could say that gap was like pretty much filled, but that is going to be some overhead resistance coming on up on QQQ, right? It was the low a day and then the high a day, back to back, spinning top doji, low of day, gap down, high a day, pretty much closed the gap and then massive dump. I mean, you are coming into some pretty strong resistance here on the Qs up towards around this 384.08 level up to this 384.30. So this is going to be like a key area that I would personally be watching here on QQQ. And let's really just dial in those levels and make sure those levels are like on point. So let's go ahead and make those fine-tuned adjustments to make it easy. Let's go ahead and add our support resistance levels. And yeah, between 384.10 and 384.30 is going to be some really, really, really tough resistance. So this is what we've been talking about a lot the last couple of weeks, letting the market come to you, right? So how would I approach the Qs? Would I be like, well, you know what? I'm going to get in right here off pre-market highs, blah, blah, blah. No, listen, I want to find my higher time frame levels. That's it. I feel pretty confident in this higher time frame level, right? You got the spinning top doji on the daily, okay, low a day. You got a gap down the next day. You come up, damn near filled the gap, and then you had a pretty big dump on high volume. These are two significant points. This low day, this high day, those are two significant points. That's why I'm going to mark up those two significant points. So I'm very convicted, very confident that if the Qs come up to that level that we just identified, there's going to be some kind of price reaction. Wouldn't you guys agree? Like, that's a pretty dialed in level, in my opinion. I like that level. I think it's a level that if we come up to, something's going to happen, right? There's going to be some kind of price reaction up around that level. So I know that if the Qs get up there, there could be some kind of strategy that presents itself. Break and retest, maybe a triple top, head and shoulders. All I know is like there's going to be some kind of price reaction up there. I don't know how it's going to set up, nor do I care how it sets up. As long as there's a confirmed setup at that level. That's all that matters. As long as we see an opportunity at that level. And so it's really, really important to let the market come to you. Like, am I going to touch the Qs until we get up to that level? No, right? Like, I'm not going to touch the Qs at all. Like, I will happily sit here until 11 o'clock and not touch the Qs until we see the Qs come up to this level and do something. Is it going to come up and top out as a resistance? If so, let's play puts, right? Is it going to come up to this level, right? And eventually break through it. Okay, cool. Look for a break and retest. Look to trade calls, right? But like, I don't really have any reason to want to really touch the Qs until the market comes to me. And that's the market coming to me. And once the market comes to me, and if the market sets up and gives me an opportunity, we'll take the trade. And at least we know it'll be a fucking amazing trade. It'll be a high probability trade at a high probability significant area. And we know that the odds of winning are in our favor. And if we're wrong on the trade, guess what? The stop is super small. So I really got to wait patiently for the market to come up to us. And I'm stressing that a lot lately because that's one of the biggest things new traders need to start doing is let the market come to them. I've had tons of coaching over the past few months, right? Tons of one-on-ones, tons of conversations, tons of people reaching out to me. And the biggest thing that I hear traders doing is just blindly entering trades, getting in too early, right? Getting in too late because they're hesitant. They're not prepared. They have no idea what they're doing. Like the biggest issue is that. And one of the ways to like help all these traders that have that issue is to really just drill it into their heads that fucking wait for the market to come to you. And then when the market comes to you, right, let there be a setup. Wait to see if there's an opportunity to get in. Wait for there to be a strategy that it presents itself that you know how to trade, and then build a plan and execute. Keep it simple. And again, this is what we've been teaching a lot of market mastery students. And someone that's taken this, that's really applied it right off the rip was Anthony, right? And Anthony's coming in as a trader within 90 days of joining and making, $200 a day like yesterday. And all he does is wait for the market to come to him. He doesn't touch it until the market comes to him. So again, I know I've been talking about this a lot lately, but it's super freaking important that I drill it into everybody's heads and they get it down pat and take it serious. Like let the market come to you. And if the market's not at your area, like you have no reason to touch it. So anyway, getting back into the cues after I got my my morning rant out of the way, I also see a level of support here on QQQ, right? We come up high a day, we have resistance, low of day support, high day resistance, high day resistance. We have 4 touch points within this little blue box that we have identified between 380 and 380.55. So we have a decent little level of support down here around like this 380 to 380.55, right? We can clearly see that we've come into this area several times, chopped around, dumped, chopped around, ripped, support, right? Resistance, tons of resistance. And we held it as support this morning, right? We opened higher this morning in pre-market, came down into that zone and pushed beautifully. So that's a very valid support level down here in the low 380s. Okay, but right now we at least know where the Qs could go. The Qs can go up towards around 384.10 to 384.29. If we come up to that level, we see its resistance. We can't break above. We simply look to take puts at that point in time. If we come up to that area and break above it and hold it as support, we look to play calls. So the question is, if we look to play those calls, if it sets up in that direction, how high can the Qs go? Then I would say the Qs can go back into the close of that daily candle, right? And then into its open as well. So those are going to be overhead price targets. Pretty simple stuff, right? Look left, just identify your opens, your closes, your highs, and your lows. And those are going to be some pretty significant levels that you can see the market get to. So if we ever see this set up to the long side, we know our first target would be at 385.63 and then up towards around 386.84 would be our targets here on the Qs. All right, so now you just sit back, be patient, and wait and see what the market's going to do up around your level that you've identified that you're going to be patient and wait for the market to get to. And you will not touch the market until the market comes to you. Yeah? Yep. Good stuff. Let's go. All right, so that is the Qs. I am watching Coin to Die, a slow death. Okay. I'm like, let's go look at Coin. I've been waiting for Coin to get to 92. Like, that's my area that I want to see Coin get to is $92, right? Into the spiking high, right? Prior to the mid-candle breakout, like Coin had a sexy mid-candle. There's a mid-candle on Coin that got it going, but that high a day was down at like $92 and it's close to the 20 EMA. I was like not even considering touching Coin until it gets down around 92. Like, I don't want to touch it long whatsoever until it's down around $92. And I don't even want to short it. Like, I look at Coin, I'm like, I don't see any reason to get short. I don't see any reason to get long. I would like to see Coin drop down to that 92.15 level before getting in. And if we ever saw Coin get down to 92.15 and set up, there might be a trade down there. But here's what I see is we have this spinning top, right? There's a spinning top doji here on the daily on Coin. We can clearly see this spinning top that indicates a reversal, right? That spinning top low of day was actually respected as some support and resistance right around like 101.22, right? And it was yesterday's high a day. So, I mean, that level's pretty significant to me. And we're actually gapping above that 101.22 level. So not only was it yesterday's high of day, it was the spinning on top low of day. And that's again, it's a significant level to me. That's a valid area. And it's an area that I would be really confident that we would see some kind of like price reaction at, right? So as long as coin holds like 101.22 today, there is potential to the long side here on coin. If we hold above 101.22, we could absolutely bounce. And you have some room to like 102.59. And then I would say up into that daily high at 104.34. So we're already hitting that 102.59 level in pre-market. Again, we just looked at the daily, right? Again, guys, I want you guys to take away from this. All I did was look at the daily, right? And I said, you know what? This is a pretty key area. It's this daily open and this daily high at 102.60. I haven't even looked at the intraday yet. I'm like 102.60 from the daily. Come here intraday. Oh shit, would you look at that? It's being respected. I didn't identify that level based on pre-market highs. I identified that level based on the daily. It's pretty cool to see how these levels are being honored like to the penny. So again, that just reinforces what I've been saying. Take the time to really know how to get yourself prepared in the morning and really identify key levels of support resistance. And then you know that these areas are going to be like super significant. There's going to be some kind of price reaction at or near one of those levels. And that's when you start taking trades. But anyway, yeah, so that's a lot of resistance, right? At 102.60. So right now you're inside of that channel, right? You're inside of this little channel here on coin. Like we could definitely like top on out here at this 102.60. If we fail to break above, you have room back down to 101.22, right? And if you ever see 101.22 crack, you're probably going to come back down to $100, right? That psychological level of support here on COIN. So yeah, if you fail to break 102.60, you could look for a short down the 101.22. And if you ever crack below 101.22, you got room down to $100. But if you do see coin breaking and holding, right, that 101.60, you definitely would think about playing it long up towards around that 104.34 level. So it really comes down to what's coin going to do at this level of resistance. We fail to break above, look to take it short. If we do break above it and then see it turn into support, literally just look to play that long off that potential break and retest for the leg up into our next level of resistance, which is up there at 104.34. They're on COIN. Coin! Is the 280 a strong support area for a possible bounce on the Qs, the 380s? I hope you meant 380, but yes, 380, William, right? 380 to 380.57 is a very good level of support here on the Qs. Absolutely. But you also need to go through and mark up yesterday's close, right? Because if we come into this zone that we have identified as really good support, but if we fail to hold that level as support and we crack below it, you'll probably come down and fill the gap into yesterday's close. So like, yeah, right now that 380 level, that zone that we have identified is a great level of support, but you could see the market go right below that level of support and watch it turn into resistance. And if we see that take place, then you'll probably see the Qs drop even lower to actually close the gap. And that's going to be off yesterday's close here on QQQ. Right. And yesterday's close on the Qs was 377.52. 377.52. But yeah, that's a good level of support. And as long as that level holds on up, you do have great potential to see the Qs move higher today. BA, I saw that big old massive rip on Boeing yesterday. And that was due to, again, earnings and revenue. We had earnings here on BA, massive gap up, and just continued to rip to the upside. And then you said that there was an analyst upgrade as well. Yeah, you got Morningstar price target from 225 to 230. So they raised it by $5. You got BOFA raising it to 300, Wolf to 260. And yeah, this thing just absolutely ripped yesterday. I mean, massive move to the upside. And so we already broke all of this daily resistance, right? And that was pretty cool to see us like gap up inside of that zone of daily resistance, and we actually saw it turn into great support yesterday. So really nice to see that level respected. If BA is going to continue to the upside, we just got to wait for it to break over yesterday's high a day. Is it over yesterday's high day? It is. So here's what I would do on BA. I would mark up yesterday's high a day and yesterday's close because it's such a tight range from yesterday's high a day to yesterday's close. I would just mark up that level. And this is going to be your support level on BA for today. Okay. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's your area that you want to see hold on up. Where could BA go? I mean, there is a lot of resistance overhead. You got this gap. Yeah, you got a gap fill here. Teeny, but there is this gap fill here. It's very small though. So let's just identify the gap fill and get that marked up real quick on BA. Because I mean, it could move higher. It could come inside of this gap fill zone. Let's go ahead and mark this up. And again, all I'm doing is looking at the daily. And, you know, what's been standing out to me lately is a lot of these gaps that are getting filled. And we've been seeing a lot of gap fills really play out lately. So let's dial this level in. And that's your gap level, right? We can see we have this gap here on the daily. All right. And then we're going to mark up yesterday's high and close as well. So we got our main areas marked up right now. We got overhead resistance. We have lower support. We're above that gap level as well. Shit. Okay. So BA is over both of those levels here in pre-market. So, I mean, this gap level would be a support zone if we stay above it. And then the thing is, like, how much higher could this thing really go? I mean, it just really comes down looking at that daily and trying to get an idea of, like, where we could see it go next. Yeah, I mean, the obvious levels are like 240. I mean, those are like the, well, that's pretty obvious. You got a lot of resistance, right? You got some resistance there. You got some resistance there. Up towards around the 240.73. So, I mean, everybody would be like, yeah, that's a pretty obvious level of resistance, right? Look at all of that resistance there. But, you know, any other areas in between, right? And I'm just looking at some of these daily lows and I'm like, you know, this is a pretty decent area at like 235.66, right? High a day, low of day, low of day. I mean, it's an okay level. It's nothing I'm like super crazy about. So actually, I don't even care about that level. All right. So again, with BA, you're above both of these like really key areas of, you know, resistance. I mean, you're above yesterday's close and high a day. Right. And we know that if we come back down into yesterday's close and high a day, that's support. We're above that level right now. So that's going to hold us support. We're also above this daily gap level, right? We're actually holding above that daily gap level, right? So that's a support level. So you got two support levels pretty damn close to BA. So like that daily gap level could hold us support. And that could be the area that we see a setup for the push higher today. Where do we have room to go? Well, I mean, the main level to the upside is like 240. 240.73. We just identified it on the daily. That's like a key area coming on up. So yeah, I mean, we could see that gap level here, right? This is the gap level right there. It has the green lines on it. If that level holds as support and we see a reason to get in, that could be a great area to get long on BA, right? But if we come down and crack that level, you still have this level down here, which is yesterday's high day and close. That could turn into support as well. So if you're thinking about getting short, like I would wait for BA to get below yesterday's high a day and close and then watch that level turn into resistance, right? Like I would wait for BA to come below that zone of support right here, come below this zone of support, and then watch it turn into resistance. We see that happen, then I'm really confident to get short in BA, right? But if we stay above one of these two levels and there's a setup to get long, like, hey, we should get long, right? Because there's potential to see a setup and an opportunity at one of those two levels of support to get long. So again, as long as we're holding above those two levels, I'm only looking for potential longs because we're holding support. I wouldn't really look to get short until we're below all of that support. We watch it turn into resistance and we have a reason to get short at that point in time on BA. So, you know, I like where it's located. I like where it's at. I like yesterday. Yesterday was a pretty solid day on BA. Really solid day on BA. And all the technicals were like really respected as well. So definitely curious to see if it sets up again for us today. And I mean, there is some potential to the long side, right? We have some room to like 240 on BA. And at the same time, there's a lot of room to the downside, right? You can see BA back down around 230 here. Actually, a little bit lower than 230, like down at 229.50 on BA. So, I mean, I like it. I think there's good potential here on BA today. And like you said, the daily candle yesterday is uncalled for. Yeah, they had some earnings, analysts upgrading. And I mean, it held every level, right? It gapped up inside of that zone and it held that zone. And that's extremely bullish. It's very, very possible we see BA continue to the upside. As bad as we want to short it, that's a very bullish candle yesterday. And we're gapping up again today. And if we hold those levels of support and bounce, like that shows strength, and we could see continued strength into today and see BA get up towards around 240.70 before we really see it topping on out, right? And that's a lot of resistance, guys. I mean, that's some really, really tough resistance, right? Is that 240.73? I mean, look at all of that resistance, right? Gap down high, resistance, resistance. Like, it's very possible we see continued strength today with Boeing, right? And we see it rip on up towards around 240.73 before we start to see more sellers moving on in, before we start to see a possible short there on BA. Yo, what's up, the Todd Faja? What's up, buddy? Morgan Stanley talks trash about Carvana, says they are basically bankrupt, and then they increased the price target. Yeah, you got to love these analysts, man. It's hilarious. It's like, oh, yeah, this company absolutely sucks, right? And then the person goes and buys like $1 million worth of the company. It's like, what? You just literally said this company sucks, and then we saw within a filing you bought 1 million shares. It's like, huh? It makes no sense. It sounds like Morgan Stanley wants a better entry, or Morgan Stanley is super freaking short and they're getting squeezed. So they want to talk trash, dump it down, increase the price target, make investors confused. What the fuck is going on with Stanley? So I have no idea. Meta. Yeah, Meta's on my watch list as well. All right, so what did we cover so far? We covered the Qs. We definitely need to cover the SPY. And we've covered Tesla. We've covered Boeing. Let's cover Meta. And then we're going to dive right into the SPY, guys, because I want to cover the hot ones, and these are all pretty hot. Meta, right? Let's just run through this quickly. I'm going to not go super dialed in. Again, I want to kind of like not rush through this, but I want to make sure that we're not wasting time. So marking up this clear area of daily resistance, okay? This is going to be some support, and we already see it respected. Right? We already see that level that we identified on the daily respected in post-market as support here and here once we got above that level. So this is a super key level here on Meta, down around 316 up towards around 318.46 on Meta. And then this level right here, this 327.88 is a pretty strong level of resistance, okay? It's actually the high a day before the gap down, right? So that's a very freaking strong level on Meta. Right? These 2 points right there at 327.88, it was freaking the high a day, the close, before this massive gap down, right? So this is a significant level. And look, we tried to break it. We came down. We tried to hold it. But what did we just see take place on Meta? We just cracked and retested that level, right? That's a short all day. Where could we come down to? Well, I still think this zone is a great zone to see Meta come down to, right? It's all of this prior resistance. We're gapping up over all of that resistance. Like, I would like to see us come down into that zone and hold as support to be able to push higher, right? But right now, we're getting rejected at 327.88 resistance level, right? We identified it on the daily. We just broke it. We tried to retest it for the push higher. We failed. We saw the crack. We have a proper retest as resistance, and now we're starting to drop. So I believe Meta may be able to fade and fall into this zone today, right? I think we could see it drop on down towards around 316, 317, back inside of this zone of support. It's very, very possible we see that take place, but that's an area where I would look to maybe get long on Meta inside of this zone, right? That's a key area of support for me, so I'm not going to really touch Meta long until I see it come down into my key level and give me a reason to get in, right? Could there be other opportunities before it gets down there? Sure. But my big trade, like the main area that I like the most is down here. And so here's the deal, guys. It's like we see a lot of potential to come down into that zone of support that we've identified. And we know that we got some pretty good resistance at this 327.88. And what did we just see? We saw a proper crack and retest, and now we're dropping. Like, I want to get short as close to this area as possible, right? So if Meta opens and tries to push up through that 327.88 again, but it fails to break, I'm going to get short on Meta because I would expect to see it drop on down close to this zone of support that we have identified. So I see a lot of potential to the downside, right? So if we can open, smack that level again and not, be able to break above it, I would get short for the drop on down off that key area of resistance that we've identified on the daily, okay? But if Meta opens and breaks that level and we see it turn into support and that becomes valid, well, we're not going to short Meta at that point in time, right? That would be a confirmation to get long if we see a break and retest over that 327.88, and we would look to play it long to 334.56 today on Meta. So really, it's like at the start of the day, what's Meta going to do right here at 327.88? Is it resistance? If so, I take puts. Okay. Is it support? If so, we take calls. We know how low we can see Meta go. We know how high we could see Meta go. Now you got to be patient and wait for there to be a reason to get in, long or short, at this level of resistance. All right, guys. So that's going to be on Meta. All right. And then let's go ahead and dissect the SPY real quick, guys. Everybody's wondering, what are we doing today on the SPY? So the SPY has this daily gap level, right? You can all see that we have a tiny gap that was filled, but the only reason I marked that level up is because the amount of touch points we've had at this level. There's a lot of times we've come into this zone. Like, you can clearly see there was a gap. The gap's already been filled. But I noticed that this zone between 457.90 and 458.68 has been respected several times. So let's take a look. How many times? Resistance, support, support, resistance, support, resistance, 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 right? Support, gap. You see how many touch points we have. We have a lot of highs a day, lows a day, low of day, low of day, where we've bounced high a day, right? High a day, high a day, high a day, high a day before a massive dump, right? We gap up, low of day, gap fill, high. Again, we can see that there's a lot of touch points at that level. It's a pretty significant, pretty key level of support / resistance. Just depends on where we're at. Are we above that level where it's going to be great support? Are we below that level? Hey, it's going to be good resistance. So where are we at? We're above that level, right? We got inside of this level and we just kind of consolidated a little bit, got to the top end of that zone that we identified. We see that there was resistance. We broke above it and retested that level of resistance as support. So we can see that this level is being respected. So the SPY, right? If the SPY is able to hold above this zone today, well, that was the wrong tool. There we go. If the SPY is able to hold above this zone today, that we've clearly identified being a pretty significant level, okay? If we can see the SPY hold above this zone of support, we have great potential to see the SPY move higher. And taking a look at the daily chart, right, the SPY has potential to get all the way up into this prior resistance level, right? These prior highs right here. Before that massive dump, there's a lot of resistance right around 461.24. So the SPY has room and the SPY has potential, again, to come on down, enter that zone, right? Again, this is a lot of support, a lot of areas of daily support between this 457.90 and 458.68. As long as we stay above this zone, this blue box that I have identified, we have potential to see the SPY push up to 461.24 today. So that's going to be a main area that I want to keep on watch, is all of this support. And now there's a zone of support, right? But I want to keep it on watch and see if there's a reason and a setup and an opportunity that's, developing and presenting itself inside this area of support. All right. So as long as we're staying above this zone, right, we're just really looking and waiting to see if there's a reason to get long, right? There's got to be a setup. There's got to be a strategy. There has to be a reason. Once we see that reason, we could look to get long to 461.24 on SPY. right? But at the same time, like you always need to have a short plan in place as well. Like if we come inside of the zone and we can't stay above it as support and we actually see it turn into resistance, well, we definitely don't want to get long, do we? Well, no, we just want to play the opportunity that's in front of us and trade the market. We would look for a short if we actually fall below that level of support and it turns into resistance. At that point in time, we'll just be waiting for a short opportunity on the SPY. And like, where could we see the SPY come down to today? I would say back down to 456.66, right? 456.66 would be the next level to the downside, all right? So the SPY, we know exactly what we want to see take place. We have the zone of support. We're just waiting to see if there's going to be a setup, if there's a strategy that really presents itself to be able to get involved. All right. And then we have the Qs on high watch as well. And honestly, I like the Qs over the SPY today. I do like the Qs over the SPY today. So I'm going to be putting a lot of focus here on QQQ. All right, guys. Small caps, LPCN, that's on watch. XPEV is on watch as well. MNK on watch. BJDX. This is a swing trade opportunity that's on watch for a moving average squeeze on the daily. I want you guys keep this one on watch. We have a moving average squeeze potentially setting up here with BJDX. So keep that one on watch for the moving average squeeze. All right, guys. But right now, my number one small cap is going to be XPEV, guys. XPEV is like the number one stock I want to keep on watch at the start of the day. I really like XPEV, right? You see this daily gap on XPEV. We've just been trading inside of this gap level today in pre-market, right? Resistance was that gap level. Support was the gap level. Breaking and retesting that daily gap level, right? That we can identify right here. We have this gap. Those levels were respected just beautifully and to the penny this morning. So really comes down to what XPEV is going to do inside of this daily gap zone, right? Just kind of waiting for a setup. But I like XPEV, and I think there's great potential. So I want to keep this one on high watch. And MNK, same thing. Again, there's a lot of stocks with a lot of gaps lately and a lot of great setups around these gaps, right? Same thing with MNK. We have this daily gap level here, right? So we're keeping these areas on watch right now at this point in time. So we're all set, guys. Looking to see what the SPY is going to do for us. We already have an idea of where we can see the Qs go, possibly up towards around 384.10. And right now, top penny stock, XPEV. And then we're watching MNK as well. So BA just says, you know what? I'm going to go right on down into yesterday's high a day and yesterday's close. So BA's already made a pretty nice big drop to the downside, right? Into that lower level of support. We just cracked this first level of support right here on BA. We have this gap that we've identified on BA. We just came right below it into our lower level of support. And now BA is starting to bounce on back up a little bit. Okay. If this support level, right, is not regained, if we do not regain this level and it turns support, there's not going to be a long, right? We could see this level turn into resistance. And if we see this level turn into resistance, that's when we think about getting short here on BA for the next leg down. So we got to wait and see what BA is going to be doing here inside of this zone that's marked up with a green line on the top and the bottom, right? These are going to be our gap fills. So anytime you see a blue box, right, with a green line on the top and the bottom, those are gaps. Those are daily gaps, okay? Anytime you just see a normal blue box, right, those are just going to be zones of support resistance, so you guys are fully aware of how I'm marking up the charts. Absolutely, man. I got you. Right, so just kind of waiting to see what BA is going to do here. I had spot on watch, but I don't think it's going to set up today. We know what we can expect on Tesla. Tesla is a bigger picture trade just off that that downtrend that we discussed this morning. Meta has room all the way down into like that 316, 317 area. So again, I'm not going to touch Meta until we get down into that zone. LPC, and how's this one doing? This one pulled back a lot this morning. I actually may have a short. No, the reward sucks. Only 50 cents a reward on XPEV. I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. And I think it could drop on down to 1980 on XPEV. So is XPEV shortable? XPEV, I think it is. Yeah, it is easy to borrow here with XPEV. See, we got an E that's easy to borrow. I may jump in on a short here, guys, here on XPEV. They jump into a short on XPEV at this resistance level, right? We have 2040 resistance, 2040 resistance, and that's just our gap level, right? We're back below that high that created the gap, and that high is going to be resistance. So I want to get short here at like 2040 on XPEV. Let's start scaling into XPEV here because I definitely want to get involved. I got in late. Shit. Well, maybe we can squeeze a couple of bucks, but I got in just a little too late here, in my opinion. I feel like I'm late. What's my cost? 2025? Yeah, I'm like 15 cents behind. We're up like 50 bucks, though. Let's see if we keep getting that drop down the 20. But yeah, I got in a little late here. The fill wasn't great. We have potential to 1980 on XPEV. So we have some room down to like 1980. My cost basis 2025. I was wanting the cost basis to be right there as close to 2040 as possible. So now I have to account for like an extra 15 cents of risk. And then I've just reduced my profit potential by 15 cents as well. So I kind of screwed myself on the trade. I've reduced how much money I can make by 15 cents, and I've increased my risk by 15 cents by not having a super dialed and accurate fill. I'm going to get out. I'm out. Why am I getting out here? It's 20 bucks, and I think 20 bucks is going to bounce big. $20 is a psychological level, right, of support, okay? So I know 20 bucks is most likely going to bounce here on XPEV. So that's the biggest reason why I'm getting out at this point in time for a quick $126 of profit, okay? And the second reason I'm getting out, not only because it's coming down to $20, and I know $20 is a psychological level of support, it'll probably bounce, right? The other reason I'm getting out is because I was 15 cents late on my trade. Now, 15 cents may not seem like a lot, but when you're trading thousands of shares, that's hundreds of dollars. And so here's the other viewpoint of being late, right? So if I'm 15 cents late on my entry, what did I just do? I add 15 cents of risk and I reduce my profit by 15 cents, right? So it's a double-edged sword. Like, here's my initial trade. I want to get in at 2040 with a target at $20, okay? And I'm going to put a stop loss 15 cents away, right? Maybe let's call it 20 cents away. So I want to get in at 2040, give it 20 cents of breathing room, and I have a 40-cent target. That's a 2-to-1 setup, okay? Decent setup, 20 cents of risk, 40 cents of reward. It's a 2-to-1, meets my minimum requirement. Let's take the trade, okay? I got filled at 2025. That's 15 cents later, right? 15 cents late. So let's go ahead and readjust my new cost basis to 2025. Look at that. Now I have more risk to reward. I just screwed myself. That 15 cents makes a huge difference. Traders, 15 cents can be the difference between a great trade plan and a really crappy one, right? Traders in the moment don't think that extra 15 cents is a big deal. Well, you just technically added 15 cents of risk because your stop's your stop. Your stop from your plan doesn't move. Your stop is your stop for a reason. Your target for a reason, right? If we would have nailed the entry, great setup, 2-to-1. We're now in 15 cents too late. And that extra 15 cents, right, now puts me at less than a 1-to-1. That's a really crappy setup. So the fact that I noticed my fill wasn't great, I'm in late, I'm just going to go ahead and cut the trade quick, knowing that it's no longer a good setup the risk to reward absolutely sucks. I have more risk than reward. So since I see some green and I realize that 15 cents just completely crushes this plan, I'm just going to go ahead and get out. And that's why I went ahead and got out there at 20 bucks instead of waiting for it to come down to like 1980. So quick little scalp there. Really wanted to fill at 2040, and I wanted way more than 600 shares, but we'll take a quick little base hit. BA is at 233.94. Let's go look at BA. I mean, we see this level turning into clear resistance, right? We get that crack on down into support. We push on up into resistance. And now we're just consolidating between those two tight levels. And we got what? A little bit of a bear flag, right? This is a bearish pennant here on BA, right? You're putting in lower highs and higher lows, right? You're consolidating sideways after a leg down, and you're consolidating below all of this resistance, right? That's a good short. And that was our plan from this morning, right? Rewind that live stream. I'm pretty sure we broke it down. If we crack that level and then push back into it as resistance, that would be a short, right? And if we crack this level and it turns resistance, you could see BA drop even lower, right? Where can we see BA drop to? We can see BA down next to this 229.62 level. All right, 229.62. So call it 230, psychological support, 230. But yeah, you saw the stock come down and hold our lower support level, pushed back into that gap zone that we had identified. We see it turned into clear resistance, and now we're dropping on off here a little bit, right? If you're not already in the short, you could still get in short, but obviously the best short would have been up here inside of that zone, and you have a nice target, again, down towards around like this 230 region. Could you still get short here and it'd be a good short setup? Yes, you could still get short off this resistance level, but your stop couldn't be up over this high. Your stop would have to be here at like 234. So, I mean, yeah, you technically could still get short here at this zone of resistance as long as BA stays below. Put your stop loss slightly above 234, right? Maybe 10 cents above 234. Your entries are at 233, right? And your target's going to be 230. So you're risking about $1.10 on the trade, and you got about $3 of potential to the downside. You still have a 3-to-1 opportunity, right? Not bad. But let's be honest, if you were already in here with that same target and that same plan, like you're at a 5-to-1. So that would have been a much better area to get in, up around that 234, that first level of resistance, but it's still not a bad idea to keep it on watch right here. Because if we cannot break back through this level and we clearly see its resistance, we could start to see the next leg down there on BA, guys. So definitely keep this one on high watch here.